What's up, World Wrestling Live here? Man, today is a great day. Feels like NAIA day. I just had Omi on at Life. Now I got my man Dodgens on at the Blue Raiders of Lindsey Wilson. And then T. Patrick after you. So, man, it's NAIA morning.
Man, but yeah.
So last time we talked like this, you were at Brewton-Parker and you were signing that girl at one of our at the summer knockout, or no, the winter knockout.
Yeah.
You were signing one of those girls up there, and then next thing you know, you're at Lindsey Wilson, man. What's the first of all, what's up, man? Thanks for coming on.
Dude, I'm so happy you're running this back, man. We've been waiting a long time for you to have everybody back on the show. We used to do this religiously. I used to watch this show all the time. So I'm happy it's back, man. And I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man, it's good to see you. So you're over there, took over the girls program. Obviously your boys got the program over there, brought you over and kind of transitioned you there. What's the transition been like? Obviously you spent your first coaching years over there, and now you're with Lindsey Wilson and you're starting to grow the women's program, growing a women's program for the second time. So how's it going over there? How's this start been for you?
Man, I think it's just been a little bit, I want to say a little bit more eye-opening and fresh. The first time I had to do it, I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know really anything about the ins and out or like how to build a culture or anything like that. I was blessed and fortunate enough to have like great high school coaches like, Coach Etheridge and stuff, and some great college coaches like Coach O, to kind of see how to set a culture. But, talking about women's wrestling, it's a completely different ballgame from men's wrestling. And I think my first time around, at my other school at BPC, I didn't really know how to build it. So it took a lot of lumps. But this time around, it's been fantastic, man. I wake up every day. I'm excited to go to work. I'm excited to, be around the people here, the culture. There's a lot of direction, a lot of communication, and, we have a great coach over here, Coach Bryant, who, is great. So he's been a real big help. This is one of the funnest men's teams I've ever been a part of, and I've been to some great ones like Reinhardt and Life and some of those teams. But this year was really great. I got to work with some great lower weights like Connor Diamond and Clarence Green and some of those guys, who are great people too. So the transition's been absolutely fantastic. I love it. It's exciting. Lindsey's a beautiful place. They've been so supportive and so communicative with just everything from admissions to our upper management to how things work and how to build the right way. So it's the first time my transition was a little rough, a little rocky, but this time around I know a lot of what to do right, and the program I think is going to succeed because of that. So
Yeah, I mean, the coaches you've been around, I mean, going from Coach O to Coach Jamil Bryant, and being able to be around those two guys has got to really help grow you mentally, and having those guys around you to pick their brains has to be amazing. Because I know Jamil spent some time at Life, then he was down with Coach George down here in South Florida. I just saw him last year. I guess his coach was being put into the Hall of Fame, so he was down here doing that, and it was great to finally kind of meet him in person. I've heard about him. I've talked to him a little bit over airs, but never got to really meet him personally. So it was nice to meet him in person, and hopefully I get a chance to come out there and hang out with you guys. Man, as far as girls wrestling comes, obviously it's grown like crazy, and you guys out there in the NAIA are doing big things, but you're everywhere. I mean, anytime I see you, you're at a tournament, you're out there recruiting, you're out there hitting the turf. Obviously that's important to the process, but how are you able to get out so much and get out to being out here? And first of all, you love Florida.
Yeah, I do. Great place. I love Florida wrestling.
I mean, so. I see you digging from our roots a lot.
Yeah.
I believe you just got one of our girls. I saw
Reagan Thomas. She is an absolute lower hammer. We're excited to have her, and we have a lot of great Florida ladies here. Ladle's here with us now, Lady Lee Rivera. AJ Alessandra Burrows is another girl that comes from Florida, and that those girls came to BPC with me. Now they're here. Florida's always been kind of hotbed for women's wrestling. It's just exploding now. So
you recruited an amazing young lady to Brewton-Parker, and her boyfriend, who's there also. Those two, that girl. I mean, I remember being at Fargo with them, and she's amazing. I was sad to see you leave her there.
It is, but she's, she's happy there, and that's important. The transition. I get it with some things, and when you leave, people
Yeah,
always want to follow. But she's fantastic. She's doing great things over there. I kind of keep tabs on her in the back, and it's great. It's like I said, I think it's been a great process for pretty much everybody
yeah.
involved. So.
So talk about Lindsey Wilson. Where are you guys located? What's the area like? Why should I come there? Why should I pick you? I mean, what are the things that I need to know?
Man, so first off, Lindsey Wilson, we're a private NAIA institution. We're one of only, I think, 10 or 11 NAIA institutions that can stack scholarships. So we can give you academic and athletic. The school gives out a lot of academic scholarships, which helps out with the cost of going to college. It's something I haven't really ever experienced. At my old place, you can only give out one or the other. So sometimes, even if your grades were good, you couldn't reward that. But here at Lindsay, they reward you for having great grades and being a great student. So we're based in Columbia, Kentucky. First off, I think we're centralized, which is great. We're an hour 30 from Nashville. We're an hour 40 from Louisville. We're an hour from Bowling Green. We're 25 minutes down the road from Campbellsville, who's a great program with Coach Miracle over there. So we're centralized. So there's a lot of stuff to do. We're about, I think 2 hours away from Cumberland's, University of Cumberland's, which is also a great school with Coach Allen. And if you need a women's wrestling coach to get on this, Coach Allen is the one you want to get on. She's
Eh,
fantastic. So
send her my link.
I'll
And
send her the link. Yeah.
Coach Miracle's not too bad either.
He's a little rough, but I love Coach Miracle. He jokes with me all the time. Like, he's a great guy. So,
Yeah, man,
but
send the link out. Send the link to them. Tell them to sign up, man. I'd love to have them on. That'd be great.
I I
But
got you.
Kentucky, man, I've been there once for the Derby, and we drove through the state because we flew into one side of the state and then drove to the other side because it made more sense. I know why they call it the Blue State, man. It's beautiful there. It's
Beautiful,
gorgeous.
man.
I mean, if you're a kid that's coming from a small school, a kid that's coming from a small environment, a small town, and you just want to have that same feel, Lindsey Wilson, man, you're going to get it there. It's not in the big city. It's not around a lot of noise. You're really going to be able to kind of get laid back. Because Kentucky, man, now you just got to keep them. You got to keep them away from the bourbon trails, but.
Man, it's all the time, all the time. They're everywhere. It's hard, but once again, it's a beautiful place. It's great. The campus is fantastic. We have people from 20 to 25 different nationalities here, different countries. So you're always going to get kind of something different, which is great too. And then I think the people here are great. The community's fantastic, and Lindsay as a school is fantastic. From top to bottom. So.
Yeah, something that I asked Omi recently, and maybe I'll ask Patrick too, is the landscape kind of changed on the NCAA level with this NIL and the portals and things like that. Now, Omi said it hasn't really affected much in the NAIA. You guys don't really have to worry about that, right?
Not really. Just because the NAIA has kind of different structures and guidelines without clearinghouses and stuff. NCAA is a little bit more constructed, so I don't really think there's been much of an NLI problem or a transfer problem. We don't even have a transfer portal in the NAIA, which is good and bad. Like it sucks sometimes because you miss out on some kids that are kind of floating around. But a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know the NAIA actually doesn't have access to the NCAA portal. So we had two young ladies, Isabella Mendoza and Leela Martin, who transferred to us from Chattanooga State, which is great. They're hammers, and we're super excited to get them. But they entered the transfer portal and then reached out to me after, and they're like, "Well, didn't you see we're in the transfer portal?" And I'm like, "No, we don't have access to that." So, there's some NCAA schools that girls that are floating around, and sometimes you miss out on them. Like if you're not paying attention, if they're not making posts and stuff. But because I think we have our own structure and kind of different clearinghouse, those things don't really affect us too much.
Yeah, and so I'm a young lady. Obviously, with the men's, it's different because uh, in the recruiting process, you're competing with multiple divisions on the NCAA. With the girls right now they all compete in the even though they're at a Division III school or a Division II school or Division one school, they all compete in the same division or nucleus, right?
Yeah,
Ecosystem. They all compete
yeah,
in the same ecosystem. So with I'm a girl and I'm between NAIA and NCAA. Is one better than the other? Why is one different than the other? I'm a girl and I'm being told you want to go to NCAA, you don't want to go to NAIA, but in the girls' landscape, you see some of the best wrestlers out there wrestle NAIA.
absolutely. And I don't necessarily think one is better than the other. I just think in NAIA there's more opportunities and inclusion for development. I think in NCAA schools like the Iowas, the Sacred Hearts Presbyterians, all great schools, great coaches. I think it gets a little hard because that's kind of ran more so as a business where you might not you have what I call a short shelf life. So you get there, maybe you're not succeeding. They're gonna kind of move off you a little quicker than most. Where in the NAIA, I've stuck with girls for 3 to 4 years and watch them develop through the process. And I think because of that, I think NAIA, I think NCAA in the top half, they're all very talented. I think the top 10 in the nation are always going to be world team members, the Pan Am teams, world teams, etc. Like when you got teams like Iowa and Sacred Heart, Lehigh's coming up with a program in a couple years. Yeah, you're going to get some of the best girls in the nation, best girls around. Like Audrey Jimenez was just in the finals at the Olympic trials. She committed to Lehigh. So, like, you get those girls consistently. But NAIA isn't, I think it's deeper. I think it's a little more talent, a little bit more developed. And we're still got in our own right. Menlo just transitioned over to the D2, but they're great. Life University with the Flavins is always fantastic. William Penn's a great team. Indiana Tech, Campbellsville, Cumberland. The list could go down. We could go on and on about the list. And I think every one of those teams can compete. So I don't think one is better than the other. I think NAIA kind of affords a little bit more opportunities. They're a little cheaper in terms of schools. Obviously, you got some schools in NCAAs that are 50, 60, 70K a year to go to overall with meal plan, room and board. NAIA doesn't really ever cross that threshold. There's like 38 to 40. So not I don't want to say one's better than the other, but NAIA has grown a great amount thanks to the Life Universities and the Cumberlands and all these fantastic coaches in school that recruits and develop great talent. So
Yeah.
not one's not better than the other. So
Yeah, and do I if I'm a young lady out there and I choose, first of all, rewind a second. Audrey Jimenez is an absolute animal.
monster.
My God, she
Goodness.
walked through the Olympic trials until she got to obviously the legend herself in
Right,
Helen.
yeah.
But she was unbelievable, and I feel like I mean, who knows? Helen could go on for many more years, but I feel like Audrey, with a mitt and with blades and with Audrey could be that next
Oh, the
big
next
girl.
changing of the guard, man. It's exciting, especially for women's wrestling to watch. Just how much it's exploded and all the opportunities that are out there that it's afforded to people now. It's a it's a great time to be a women's wrestler in the US. Like
Oh man, she
honestly.
was she was fun to watch, and you could see it hurt that she lost to Helen. You could see it really bothered her. You could see her on the side. She was in tears, and and it should, because if she's wrestling at that level, I'm sure she had the belief system that she could beat Helen. And
And
and she
she
should.
will. And I'm not saying she will, but she is probably the next one up. And girls are gonna start chasing her coattails as she moves on here. So once
Yeah,
again, it's a great thing. Like we watched it on the women's and the men's, kind of the changing of the guard in a lot of weight classes. You grew up
yeah.
with the Taylors and the Burleses, and you grew up with some of the older young ladies that are there, and they kind of, the change of the guard. It hurts a little bit because we're all old timey now. It reminded me how old I am, but it also was great to see the talent and development around the whole country, especially for women's wrestling. Like there's so many absolute hammers at that tournament, at last chance qualifier, at U20, at U23, and not only bringing some of my girls there to compete, but just kind of watching and being a fan of great teams, great NAIA teams, great NCAA teams. Just overall the landscape, I'm like, it's mind boggling how much it's
It
grown
was
in
unbelievable. Yeah,
landscape.
I was talking to Coach Cook from North Central, and I mean, I had him on the show Tuesday, but I was talking to him physically there. We were watching one of, he had two other coaches because he had just come off the mat, so he wasn't coaching the girl that was still on the mat. Um, and we were talking about the level of these athletes that make the Olympic trials is unbelievable. I mean, you'd have people that were 3-time Fargo, 2-time world, and they're going 1 and 2,
Yeah.
and you're like, wow. And
Wow.
just the level of it was amazing. But as far as coming to NAIA as a girl, um, eh, but I want to compete with the best. I want to see how I do against the NCAA girls.
We compete.
Uh,
That's the
how,
big thing. We compete. Some of our girls like NCAA wrestles NAIA, so it ain't like we're going through the whole year just wrestling NAIA schools. Like Life University wrestled Iowa last year in a duel, and it was great. It was fun to watch, and it showed kind of the talent level. And I'm like, okay, life are those. That's a great team for NAIA. It's a great representation for us. And then we went to the Indiana Tech Open, and you got great NCAA teams. You got North Central, you got Iowa, you got King, So it isn't like we just walk through and it's like, oh, NAIA just wrestles NAIA. No, we go to Missouri Valley every year and we wrestle, all Americans from NCAA. So just because you come to the NAIA doesn't mean it structures where you're only going to wrestle the NAIA. You're going to run into NCAA teams. Like for me, I want to chase the McKendrees. I want to taste the North Central colleges. I want to chase the Iowas and Sacred Hearts and all the Presbyterians. Why? Because I want to see the level gap, and I want our girls to really be able to put hands on some of the best girls in the nation. A lot of those storied programs, like the Kings, like the North Centrals, like the McKendrees, the Iowas, they have world team members sitting on their team. They have All Americans and national champs sitting on their team, and just to get that opportunity to put hands and get better at wrestling and see where you're at and see what you need to improve on is great. So just because you come to the NAIA, NCAA don't always just wrestle NCAA. NAIA definitely don't always wrestle NAIA. We go to a lot of tournaments where I call it intermixing. Like you're gonna run into North Central girls, McKendree girls. Like our girls, Jocelyn Campos went to uh Missouri Valley. She took fifth at it. She wrestled an All American from Sacred Heart. She beat an All American from McKendree. She wrestled another girl from an NCAA school. And so it's a great opportunity. Like NAIA just I think affords more of a developmental opportunity, especially for some of those girls that might be ready but might still need some time to grow. So
yeah, like I'm a girl, and I want to. Yes, I want to wrestle in college, but I also want the opportunity to be able to try to make a world team, try to go wrestle in the U20s and the U23s and the seniors. Um, am I going to get developed for that type of competition?
absolutely, and a lot of NAIA schools, same thing. We traveled girls to Last Chance last year in Vegas. We took 7 or 8 girls down with us from our old team from BPC. The mood is we're probably going to have 15 to 20 girls travel to Las Vegas next year for the Open. Spokane, we go with a lot of our signees. Sydney from Florida, the Hernando Wrestling Club. Excuse me if I butchered it. I never can pronounce it right. She was just up at U20 kicking butt out there, and she beat a girl that was on a Division I school or a D3 school from an NCAA prime institution. So you're the my job and one of my goals is to bring as many young ladies out there to those tournaments and let you put hands on some girls and see if you can't make a world team. India Page is another example of someone who at my old school came into our program, wasn't highly touted, had a couple offers. She developed, she ended up placing, being one of our hammers, a 2-time All-American, and she was ranked on the world team ladder. She was ranked like 5th or 6th. And that's because we bought her to a lot of those other, last chance, the U23 stuff. And we say, hey, go put your hands on people and let's kind of see what works for us. Let's see if we can't knock some people off. Let's give you the opportunity to compete. And, at the end of the day, at Lindsey, at least how I look at it, I think I look at it for, a lot like a lot of other NAIA institutions is my goal is to get every one of our girls 15 to 25 matches every year, regardless if they're a starter or not. Because I want them to get time on mat and development, and I want them to be able to get that experience. So, yeah, you'll get that opportunity in NAIA, and I don't think that's just with us. I saw Indiana Tech, Coach Paul, fantastic dude. He brought 4 or 5 young ladies up to U23, and I've seen him at Last Chance and everything. And the Flavins were up there. Christian Flavin was up there coaching Sarah Savage and a couple young ladies. So, you're a lot of these teams we'll bring you and give you that opportunity. But I think I'm kind of like I speak for them. You got to earn it. You got to work hard. Our season ends in March. I let our girls go home for about a week for spring break, and they know, hey, if they're going to compete at U20, U23, well, we got about a month and a half until that happens from the end of the season. Hey, guess what? You got to be back in the room wrestling. For me to
Yeah,
bring you.
that's what Omi said. He said, I have no problem sponsoring kids that want to go compete there, but if you don't show me that you're working, I ain't taking you.
Yep.
Because
Same
I'm not,
philosophy, same
yeah,
thing.
yeah, because I'm not looking to, I don't want anybody getting hurt, first of all. I want them to be ready. We're not going out there to go barbecue,
Yeah.
He said, yeah, so same methodology. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So what's next for Devane? What do you guys got planned in the off season? Where are you headed?
Man, so actually, believe it or not, um, I have a list full of camps. I'm always looking if anybody in Florida or anybody wants me to come down for a camp. I always say or practice, just let me know. I'll be in my car. I'll be on a plane. I always like to go into people's rooms and meet recruits. We're pretty much at about 38 to 40 young ladies signed for next year, so it's going to be a lot more flurries of signing days and making sure our girls get in. I do have a plan to go back to Fargo. Obviously, everyone goes to Fargo. But other than that, there's some little tournaments here and there. Because the USA Wrestling calendar is kind of over after this week because they got Vegas going on right now. Really, it just comes down to hey, like getting back on the recruiting trail, making sure the young ladies that are coming in, all their stuff is straightened out, and then just going and kind of enjoying it. I just got back from Alabama. We have some camps planned out in Florida, which is great. And a lot of signings around. I try to make it to every signing or be there, on video call because I know it's pretty important, special days for all our young ladies. And just making sure we're good. Like I want us to be competitive. I think we can be really competitive, but I don't pay attention to paper. I don't pay attention to rankings. We gotta, in my case, we always gotta shut up and earn it. We just because we're nationally ranked first or nationally ranked eighth or whatever, don't mean we have to finish there. Don't mean we're promised anything, and that's why you love wrestling. So, just getting geared up for this kind of late off season push, kind of finishing up our recruiting, and I'll stay open until June or July. But we're kind of flurrying it to the end of the month and reaching out to some hammers that are still available and just kind of being enjoying college. So it's a great thing. That's kind of what the plan is right now and moving forward. I think that's all we can do. Control what you can control. I try to wake up and be one of the hardest working coaches in the nation because I was bought through that system to work hard. So I'm just gonna keep doing that.
Yeah, and listen, you've been doing a great job. We obviously saw what you did at Brewton-Parker when you were there, and we're starting to see that landscape being built at Lindsey Wilson. I got to say though, blue and white is a lot prettier than orange and whatever. So I gotta. I mean, I am a Hurricane fan. The orange and green works, but
Yeah,
it's a different orange. The
yeah,
blue and white look. Blue's my favorite color, so I think it looks a lot better.
it does, and I blue's my favorite color too. So I'm like, hey, like I think it just fit. I think it just fits. So, but no, BPC is a great. It's going to be a great place, for Sterling and Coach Smith. They're
Yeah.
they're doing great things over there. But Lindsay, is a great place too. Like we're building our men's team. I think it's fantastic. We got some hammers getting signed over there with Coach Bryant, who's a Florida guy himself. And yeah, like it's an exciting time to be a Blue Raider for the women's team and the men's team. I think so.
Yeah, well, I'll tell two-time he can come on anytime.
I got you. I bothered him the other day about it. I was like, "Hey, man, like Coach Ward, like don't think you're getting out of this. We're having you up. I want you to come do our
Yeah,
our
yeah,
media
yeah.
day this year. Like,
I'm ready, man. I'm
bro,
ready.
posters. Every Florida girl that I get that you do their media day, they are way up here. They're like, Coach, he did the smoke and the pictures, and I'm like, bro, we got to get him over here for
Yeah,
that. We
and
want that.
I try to make it fun. I try to make it fun and interactive. I try not to because we were all in high school. I mean, for the most part, I hope everybody went through high school. But um, remember the media day? The cameraman stood there, and there was a background. It was like it's like that commercial with the girl with the braces, and she's coming
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
and they're like, "Next, next, next." I mean, yeah, there's been a couple times I had to do the next thing, like I had to go a little quicker. I couldn't be as interactive. Wellington's got 90 something kids on the team, so I had to move pretty fast there, and we did a big thing down at Southwest Miami where it wasn't just the high school, but it was the boys, the girls, the youth programs, and everything. So there was about 70, 80 kids there. So I had to move a little quicker there. But when we're in a room just with the 14 girls or the 40 girls or boys, I can make it more fun. We can have a good time. We laugh a little bit. We do the smoke. Yeah, it's definitely a blast, and it gives me a chance. I always wanted to get back. I always wanted to get out to the wrestling rooms that have always supported me, right? So now it's been pretty cool. I've been to wrestling rooms from the Florida Keys with Dante all the way up to Well Train and Gulf Breeze with Blackwell and Burden up there. So I've been able to get to see a lot of cool programs, a lot of cool wrestling rooms, and meet a lot of great people. So it's been a good journey, and then to be able to go to the Olympic trials this weekend and be able to get credentials for that was
Mind blowing, once in a lifetime experience, right?
wow. It was like Christmas but better. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think the one thing I noticed, I was talking with a few people. They would ask me like, "Hey, what did you notice the most?" I said, "I noticed that nobody is funky. Nobody does anything crazy. Nobody is trying to do anything wild. It was the absolute basic fundamentals being used at the highest level. Like it was down blocking, it was head blocking, it was the snaps, the snap singles, the doubles, the underhook. I mean, it was, and it's not, it's not a big secret. I didn't wrestle, but I've educated myself pretty good watching this over my time. And you didn't see any of that craziness. You see a lot of the high school kids doing that
Yep.
craziness where they're jumping and flipping and doing stuff,
Back
and it's fun.
rolling.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun to watch. You saw some tosses, right? But for the most part, it was just basic wrestling technique, at a Superman level, obviously,
Yep.
right? And it goes to show you. I mean, it just showed me that if you could just work on that and make your single as good as it can be, or your basic technique as good as it can be, and you want to try some of that stuff, go ahead. But it looks like these guys. I mean,
No,
there's no
man.
question these guys are good enough to do funk rolls and all this crap, but they're not doing it at that level.
No, basic wins championships. A lot of people think there's some magic. It really isn't. It's just, being around Omi, for example. Omi had like 3 or 4 moves, but he was so good at it and so intense at his training regimen and taking care of himself. Like he couldn't help but be successful. When Coach Bryant had, me and him joke a lot with, hey, who has the better high C? Well, I was a two-time All-American with my high C. He was a two-time national champ, so I kind of give it to him a little bit. But it's a lot of basics. Like if you watch, like, hey, David Taylor has a really basic ankle pick, but he's so good at it. He drills it so hard and he's so consistent with it. It works. Jordan Burroughs, for years, all he had was a super basic double leg. Hey, with the double leg, hey, change your style, change your motion, heavy hand fight, blast through people. These aren't magical things. I think that some people get enamored with. A lot, even for girls wrestling, I'm like, it's very basic. But the young ladies on our Olympic team and the young ladies at the pinnacle of NAIA All-Americans, national champs, NCAA All-Americans, national champs, there isn't anything that's like, oh my God, they flying squirreled someone a bunch of times or they rolled across their back. It's like, hey, great single leg, hey, great double leg, hey, heavy
The
hands
Yeah.
getting all
By
offense.
the way, the flying squirrel is a cool dude.
Oh yeah, what is it,
He
Coleman?
is a cool. Yes, he's a
Cool,
cool
cool
dude.
dude. Yeah,
I
I
got to
got
meet
to.
him.
You got to meet him too. I got to meet him about
Yeah,
4 or 5 years ago. He's a great guy.
yeah. But something else I noticed was no risk. When I say no risk, obviously they take risk at some point where they got to get to where they're going to. But when I say no, it's freestyle, right? So they would get the takedown, and then they would try to get a gut or a lace for a second. But if they just realize they can't get it, they stop, they stall, they get stood up. They don't try to roll so hard where they're putting themselves in a bad position or go to a bad lace or give themselves an opportunity to get in trouble. They'll try it. Okay, they realize they can't get to it. They'll just hold, boom, stand them up, reset them. There was no real trying to put yourself in a dangerous position
Yeah,
purposely.
yeah.
So that was fun to
Freestyle,
watch. But
yeah. Freestyle wrestling, man. Position battles. That's what it is. Winning the positions.
yeah, so you really noticed a lot. It was pretty cool, man. I got to say it was very surreal. I couldn't believe I was there. So a good time. I hear my dog. He must be chasing sheep while he's sleeping. He's a woo, 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 woo,
Good
woo.
for him, man.
Good for
Best
him.
sleeps are the ones you got to mumble through.
Yeah, he likes to sit. We have a mat in front of the door.
Is
He
he like a
probably
guard?
likes to.
Is he like a guard dog? He'll just guard your door for you.
Yeah, he'll lay there, but then he'll bark at the person, and then when you open the door, he'll lick them.
I feel
You're
that.
like, oh, that worked out good. So if anybody ever breaks in, he's just gonna like sniff them and lead them to where they got to go.
He gotta look like me a little bit when I used to wrestle, like that photo. He gotta look intimidating, but he actually ain't. Like,
Yeah, not that intimidating at all. But man, hey, it's always good catching up with you. Uh, love what you're doing. I'm glad you found a home because I know you were kind of in limbo there when you first left, and you were kind of just kind of going around doing your thing and finding a home. But it seems like you found a home there with Jameel and Lindsey, and good for you. And I hope to see you at some tournaments that I know we've got. Well, I know Poseidon starts tomorrow, but you're probably not going to be there for that because you're still sitting there.
yeah,
And then, um, we got Spartan at the end of the month, and then there's obviously a bunch of camps going on and things happening. But we got Summer Knockout coming, which is a good tournament. I know you always come to Christmas Knockout. Yeah, that thing's growing. Thing's doing good. Um, got a lot of stuff going on. The Braves Invitational is now. I don't know if you saw them post, but it used to be at Lake Gibson. Well, now it's going to be at the big center there in Winter Haven, and
oh,
they're adding girls. So
that's awesome.
it's the first week of January. Obviously, with Freedom, they always do they've got the AAU states this weekend, and they
Coach
always have
Bush
some
and
really
Coach
big
Dahl.
stuff. But
They're
yeah, I mean,
awesome. Yeah,
obviously Hernando and Matanzas and uh, all those different girls programs.
fantastic.
South Dade is doing some special things down there with the girls. But man, I look forward to seeing you around, man. I'm gonna get prepared for T. Patrick and get going, man. I love shouting out the NAIA too.
No, keep giving us some love, man. We appreciate everything you do and having us on, man. Tell T Pat I said what's up when you see him. Oh, and
Definitely,
tell him I said congratulations to Dougie Pep over there, his new assistant, a great hire, man. He's the man. So give him some love. Same thing with Coach O, man. Give him some love, giving the NAIA some love too. So
for sure, man. I'll do it.